Good afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy with a roundup of today's top stories. Happy Friday. It's August 8th. We'll start with some nature news. Images from space are helping scientists on Earth better understand river temperatures. This could help salmon in Northwest waters that are too hot. Northwest Public Broadcasting's Courtney Flatt explains.
These NASA satellites have been collecting information for more than 40 years. Now, researchers are using a type of AI to sort through all that data. George Dacqua is a graduate student at the University of Washington. He's developed an online tool that interprets publicly available satellite data, allowing people to better understand river temperatures over time. Dacqua says the tool complements on-site water temperature gauges.
It can also be applied or extended to areas that do not even have existing water temperature measurements.
The Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission says it plans to use the tool to monitor river temperatures and to help propose policies related to dams. I'm Courtney Flatt.
More ramifications coming from the state's budget shortfall. A nonprofit that serves foster kids in Washington has lost most of its funding. Treehouse helps foster kids navigate school up through graduation. Its funding was cut more than $7 million this year. That's the lion's share of its operating budget, according to the Seattle Times. More than 36 educational organizations funded by the state have seen their funds significantly reduced or cut altogether. In federal news, President Donald Trump is calling on the CEO of Oregon's biggest private employer to resign immediately. Trump wrote on social media that the head of chipmaker Intel is, quote, highly conflicted. Oregon Public Broadcasting's Kyra Buckley reports.
Trump made the claim on his website Truth Social without citing any evidence. But the president is almost certainly referring to Intel CEO Lip Bhutan's investments in Chinese technology companies with government ties. Concerns had previously been voiced by Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. It is legal for American business leaders to have holdings in other countries. And even though a president has no authority to remove a company's CEO, the comments appear to be spooking investors. Intel's stock tumbled after the post. Intel is headquartered in California but has a major research, development, and manufacturing hub in Hillsboro. The semiconductor firm employs around 18,000 Oregonians, although that's down from 23,000 a few years ago. I'm Kyra Buckley reporting.
And the mayor of Pasco has reportedly been picked to be the next lead federal prosecutor for Eastern Washington State. Pete Serrano will have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Serrano is a Republican who ran unsuccessfully against Nick Brown last year for state attorney general. During the campaign, he referred to the January 6th rioters as, quote, political prisoners who were held, quote, on political charges. Several students in the Northwest are in Japan right now. They're learning about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, which happened 80 years ago this week. Northwest Public Broadcasting's Anna King has more.
6 students from Washington State University Tri-Cities and Columbia Basin College are traveling across Japan for 3 weeks. Their goal? Learn more about the atomic bombings and make connections with the people in those communities now. Robert Franklin is an assistant professor at WSU Tri-Cities. He's traveling with the students.
You know, they're really moved by this to learn a different perspective that they had not really been asked to consider in their education thus far.
One of the group's most memorable times, Franklin says, was taking a bus to an overlook of Nagasaki at night. They all saw the lights below, a city still recovering after the bomb. I'm Anna King.
Some news for Washington's biggest crop. Some apple growers in the state are looking forward to a bountiful fall. The Washington State Tree Fruit Association says growers are expected to produce 142 million boxes despite record drought in eastern Washington this spring. That's 18 million more boxes than last year. But the association president says labor supply concerns and other economic issues may result in fewer apples actually being picked. Washington State is the country's largest apple producer. And a quick sports note. As we told you this week, the Mariners are honoring Hall of Famer Ichiro Suzuki this weekend. They're retiring number 51 on Saturday in a special pre-game ceremony that begins at 6. And Sunday is Japanese Heritage Day at the ballpark. $5 from every ticket sold will be donated to the Japanese Culture and Community Center of Washington. Before we leave you on this sunny Friday, it's peak tourism season in downtown Seattle. Residents and visitors have been celebrating the $800 million makeover of the waterfront. We wondered, is the same true for residents and visitors under the surface of Elliott Bay? To consider that question, KUOW's Kim Malcolm reached out this week to environment reporter Linda Mapes. The two took a shallow dive into Mapes' most recent piece for the Seattle Times titled The Vibrant World Under Seattle's New Waterfront. Here's Kim and Linda.
Linda Mapes started our conversation by telling me about her actual dives into Elliott Bay.
I went in the water with Jason Toft from the University of Washington. We got in dry suits, we put on snorkels and masks. I was skeptical. I thought, in such an urbanized area, how good could it really be? Did it really do any good? And I'll tell you something, Kim. It is a shock to pop your head under the water. Just feet from the bike path, just feet from... You can hear people standing there talking on their cell phones, and you want to put your head up and say, Puget Sound is alive. It's stunning. It really was stunning.
As part of the waterfront improvements, Seattle spent over $300 million to recreate its seawall. Mapes told me about 3 important aspects of the reconstruction. 1, they added skylights to bring sunlight to the water below. 2, the wall has nooks and crannies built in to provide places for animals and plants to grow, live, hide, and feed. And 3rd, they included what Mapes calls a habitat mattress below.
And so you put these 3 things together, a little bit more light, some places to hide, to be, to feed, to rest. And suddenly you have not a dark, scary, blank place as it was before, but a place that, while certainly nothing like it was and will never be again like it was, incorporates some friendlier features for fish, for animals, for plants into this necessary human infrastructure. So you can think about this as, I wouldn't really call it restoration. That's not what we've got here. That's not really possible in so altered a place. But I would call this a bit of an ecological assist in a highly altered environment.
Linda Mapes has reported on the environment in our region for decades, but she seems genuinely surprised by the changes she saw when she explored Seattle's new underwater front.
And honestly, you wouldn't believe the number of different species that are utilizing this area. And they've published several scientific peer-reviewed publications at this point that show that even in a highly altered environment, if you provide just a little bit for animals and plants to make it more livable, they will use it.
Mapes is well aware of the damage we humans do in our everyday way of life as we drive our cars and spread pollution, but she seems to see a way forward.
You can't abuse a waterway for more than 100 years and dump anything you want into it and just walk away from that and think it's all going to be fine as soon as you stop. I mean, what is so sad about this is we're living with our past mistakes. And this is true in so many ways and at so many levels. No one should be surprised that it's also true in the environment. The way to think about this is it's a circle, and it's all connected both in time and in space. And the only way to interrupt this cycle of pollutants is, number 1, to stop putting them in the water with source control. Number 2, clean up our mess and stop making more. Simple. 1, 2, 3. Expensive? Yes. But some of the tribal leaders that I've worked with over the years in these stories make what to me is a very good point. The scale of the cleanup has got to match the scale of the disruption and the destruction. And as long as you're just cleaning up around the edges and you're still continuing to destroy the environment and pollute it, we're not going to get where we need to be.
All that is a lot to take in and take responsibility for. Regular KUOW listeners may be used to me asking for hopeful notes from the people I interview. I didn't have to ask Linda Mapes. She went there on her own.
Here's a hopeful fact for you. When I was talking with scientists about the situation with regard to these cleanups, the record shows us, their peer-reviewed science shows us, that in places where we have done very aggressive cleanups, such as in Sinclair Inlet over there at Bremerton, it has made a difference. They do see a reduction of PCBs. So, it's a keep after it thing. It's a do more thing. It's a pay for it thing. We made a lot of money wrecking these places. Now we need to reinvest our wealth into cleaning them up.
Linda Mapes ended her reporting for her recent article on the banks of the Duwamish River, a major source of the pollution for Elliott Bay.
To stand there, Kim, and hear the C-130s rumbling overhead, and to watch the stacking of the shipping containers right across from you, and to watch the fuel truck delivery to Vigor itself. And yet here's this goose that's sitting there on her eggs, and here's a seal in the water. Here, when they pull up the net, are all these flipping, jumping, leaping salmon. And you know what? They were wild coho. Here's what I say about that. Respect these animals. Respect this incredible capacity for resilience and persistence. Not unlike the native people themselves. This is a native ecology that, if given the chance, if given the place, if given the opportunity, it will thrive, and it will live, and it will persist. And so every single thing we do, everything counts. You can trust nature. This is a place where life finds a way. And so, you ask me, am I hopeful? My answer to that is yes, because I've seen it with my own eyes, whether it's Elwha Dam removal, or putting in these knee seawalls, or these pocket beaches, or cleaning up the water. Everything we do, everywhere we do it, makes a difference.
The work behind cleaning up Elliott Bay and other polluted areas starts with science. Linda Mapes knows that better than many of us, and she's concerned about where support for that starting point is headed.
One of the most important things we have to do is fund science. You can't fix these problems, any problems, if you don't know what they are. And you can't tell if the things you're doing are working if you don't monitor the work that you've done. And so, here in the Pacific Northwest, we are blessed with some of the most incredible scientists that you'll find anywhere: biologists, conservation biologists, fisheries biologists, restoration biologists, hydrologists, geomorphologists. You ask me about an ologist and I can give you a name. Someone who's been working in that field for decades, who literally leads the world in our understanding of these complex environments. None of this is going to get easier, and none of it's going to get simpler. With more people, climate change, all the rest that's coming, the single most important thing we need to point a beacon at where we need to go to preserve these precious places that we love is science, to be our guide.
Next time on Seattle Now, we unpack the primary election with David Croman from the Seattle Times.
I actually, going into this, did not have a guess. So I was open to any and all possibilities, which in and of itself was kind of exciting, actually. It was probably the least predictable election for me.
And that's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producers are Andy Hurst and Vaughn Jones. And I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you soon.